If this country with a budget of 3 trillion, if it is set aside just 100 billion for research, 100 billion for research, in 10 years, this country will not be the same. It can never be the same. Because knowledge is the beginning of everything. Research must not be understood in its narrow sense of dissecting insects and frogs. You know, that's what people think is research and science.
And
research is, in fact, much more so in social sciences than anywhere else. Research and innovation are king and the key to any development. Without research and innovation, you will remain a poor third world country. Because everything is there, even when money is available, there are many things you need to take care of. There are many jokers within universities, just jokers. There are
Under
many
the name
jokers
of
within
research
research
students.
institutes. So those are things you take care of. But the principal thing which you must deal with immediately is to release funds for research, to ensure our universities are universities, are centers of excellence, centers of research and teaching. Today our universities are not centers of excellence. They are not centers of teaching and research. They are just extensions of high schools.
Kenya is yet to hit a target it set way back in 2013 of investing at least 2% of its gross domestic product, that's GDP, in research and development. As a country, what do we stand to gain should we fully realize this very much target? As always, my name is Richard Mwenja, your host here on Business Glide, and we are truly humbled that you joined us on this edition. And right about now, to help me dissect into this conversation is none other than renowned public scholar, Herman Manyora. Great to see you, sir.
Thank you, Richard.
All right, you're looking good today.
Thank you, Richard.
Aging like fine wine.
I'm telling you.
I see.
Yes.
So the Science, Technology and Innovations Act of 2013 stipulates that Kenya should spend at least 2% of its GDP in research and development. This far, we are yet to hit that target. We are still investing barely 1% of our GDP into such. Will you say that we have an issue with continuity of our policy actions in this country?
I'm not sure the figures you are citing are right.
They are.
The 2% of our GDP for research and that we have hit about 1%, I'm not sure.
We are yet to hit 1%.
Even one, we are nowhere. What are we talking about? Of GDP?
Yeah, true.
GDP or national budget?
No, GDP. The figures are there.
Kenyan GDP, even 1%.
Absolutely.
For you know, though there are UNESCO figures, we are nowhere near any of those things. We have not even done anything. So to try to say we are yet to hit, it suggests we are about to hit it.
All right.
We have done nothing about research in this country. Absolutely nothing.
And from a general standpoint, from a policy action standpoint, would you say that we've made some commendable efforts this far with regards to investing in research?
Nothing. I've conducted a research. It's in public domain. You can go and Google and find it. And
I see.
There's nothing. We have done nothing as a country.
All right.
Yeah.
When we talk about investing in research and development, I particularly take concern with the model that we often use, that's of going through it through the partnerships. Oftentimes with this funding, donors and those funding our research are coming and bringing their interest on board rather than national interest of Kenya. Do you also take interest, concern with such? Yeah,
I was a moderator some times back in a conference. It was a thing called High Scientific Panel on research, mainly within the agricultural sector, but it would cut across because across many other sectors. And while moderating, I posed one question to these scientists: what would be the state of research in this country if donor funding was cut, as indeed it was beginning to fizzle? They just couldn't say anything because nothing will go on. So every little thing we do is donor funded. So I'm talking about the country going into its own resources and financing research. We've done absolutely nothing.
I see.
Yes.
All right. So we've seen countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Taiwan, and a number of them surpass Kenya's economic growth rate and become first world countries, all thanks to investing in research and development. For the Kenyan setup, would you say that research and development isn't one of our priority areas?
Before you talk of research, you must appreciate the role of knowledge. Successful economies are knowledge economies.
Knowledge
So
based.
before you have appreciated fully the role of knowledge, and that there's nothing you can do without knowledge, you cannot talk of research. You must know the role of knowledge, then figure out what kind of education you want to have for the country. When you get that one right, then you move to the issue of research. And if you get research right, this country will move from being a poor third world country to a serious country.
Yes. Would you say that our quite minimal spending on research and development is perhaps the reason why Kenya's competitiveness isn't at a higher notch like many other countries in East Africa?
Correct.
Perhaps why we are largely dependent on imports.
Yeah, correct. Because research must not be understood in its narrow sense of dissecting insects and frogs. You know, that's what people think is research and science.
Yeah, and desert
research is, in fact, much more so in social sciences than anywhere else. Research and innovation are king and the key to any development. Without research and innovation, you will remain a poor third world country forever.
All right.
Yes.
Under the Big Four agenda, President Uhuru Kenyatta's administration wants to really bank on manufacturing to bring job opportunities to the youth and also an area of economic development therein. Would you say there's an opportunity that through research we can attain some high quality and sustainable jobs?
Of course. You know, it's research, to put it very simply, is to put our mental capacities to use. You activate your mental capacities. So it is only research because it is structured, it is facilitated, it is well ordered, but it's just a question of, as a people, can we allow thinking in a structured way to go on? Thinking. But the moment the brains are activated to think,
I see.
what we are looking at as problems could disappear immediately. What we are calling unemployment could be a very simple thing if you allowed Kenyans to think through a process that is well coordinated, well funded, well facilitated. And that's what we call research.
I see.
Yes.
Herman Manyora, you are a senior lecturer at the University of Nairobi. And how critical is it to have university students get mentorship opportunities from researchers, private sector, and so forth, so that in the near future, probably we can have a change in our economy and how development is done?
It's important because you must grow young talent, young people. But how do you grow them and there are no centers of research? There's no research going on. How do you grow them?
I see.
For every one research, even a small one, say a professor is funded to do some research somewhere, he can't do it alone. There are some things he'll do with his colleagues at that level, but there are other things that can only be done by research assistants, by graduate students, you know, stuff like that. So if research is going on, there will be many young people on those programs.
I see.
Yeah.
Kenya has tried to diversify its research disciplines. We see in agriculture, we have Calro, in medical field, we have the Kemri, and so forth. Will you say that this far, such authorities have really outdone themselves with regards to research and their impact to the economy?
Nothing tells the story of what I'm saying more than Calro, how do you call it? This one of agriculture. I knew it as Kari.
Yeah.
Now they have come up with this Calro name or whatever. Yeah. Kefri for forestry, Kemri or CDC. Nothing demonstrates what I'm saying more than that. The fact that with the limited funding they have made several breakthroughs. You know, like this Calro thing in maize seeds and varieties and what have you. Kemri with the discoveries that are even internationally recognized. Kefri with all manner of good things about forestry and so forth. That shows you, if we could have research going on in this country, there's so much would happen. Imagine just those three demonstrate what research can do to a country. And yet, they have complained time without number. They are terribly underfunded. They were saying even recently during COVID, that if they had the money they could do wonders in terms of test kits and testing and what have you. But they were so limited. Even reagents only. They could not get the reagents before those things even became difficult to procure because of the demand. So that we are not even able to fund such a critical research centers.
I see.
Yeah.
Are you signaling, sir, that we can probably use the route of research and development to address issues such as food security and invest much more on agricultural research?
Correct. The same conference I was there as a moderator, I had wonderful things going on about farming, food issues in dry areas.
It's happening right
Appropriate technology, appropriate farming method, appropriate seeds. And you sit there and listen and say, research, science, there's science that breeds, then there is research, okay? Science, research, then you must apply that knowledge, maybe through technology and so on and so forth, so for the process to reach the end user. You sit there and wonder, does this country know what's going on? For example, in those research centers. Does this country know? If it knew and it supported these research institutes, this country will be, how can you talk of famine in a country like this, with all this arable land, with all these educated men and women? By the way, make no mistake, there are many educated men and women. I saw a couple of days ago Raila Odinga meeting university professors. And they told him, please fund research when you become president. Of course, he challenged them, then you make me president first. But I will do. You keep your promise, I'll keep mine. You elect me as president, Raila Odinga, I will ensure research funding is a reality. I'm telling you, forget about percentages. Forget about percentage of GDP, whether you are right or wrong. If this country with a budget of 3 trillion, if it is set aside just 100 billion for research, 100 billion for research, in 10 years, this country will not be the same. It can never be the same. Because knowledge is the beginning of everything. It is from knowledge that you can advance. If you look at ancient civilizations, they were not just great, the Egyptian civilization, Mesopotamia, the Marian, the Inca kingdom, and all those ancient civilizations. It was brains at work. Man at his best in terms of mental capacities.
Very well, sir.
Yes.
So in a way, are you convinced that the Kenyan problem with research isn't the human resource capital side of it, but rather the monetary side? Correct. In terms of allocation?
Of course, everything is there. Even when money is available, there are many things you need to take care of. There are many jokers within universities, just jokers. There are
under
many
the name
jokers
of
within
research students.
institutes. So those are things you take care of. But the principal thing which you must deal with immediately is to release funds for research. And of course, after you do that, there are other things you'll have to deal with.
All right.
Not everybody will be given money and they will work. There are many people who just sit there given money and they come with all sort of accounting like Kenyans, fake receipts and everything, and there's nothing to show for it. That you'll deal with. But the bottom line is, can you please fund research?
The very last, sir. When you are talking about investing in research and development, you will agree with me that this mandate shouldn't be put squarely at the doorstep of the national government. There is a reason, or rather a need why we should have non-state actors, the NGOs and the private sector to come on board. So how do we leverage this trade of research and development that it benefits both parties?
I agree with you. Many universities in the world are successful and have endowment fund, they have money for research, not because they get it from government, but because there's linkage with industry. So because of collaboration with industry, a lot of funds are generated or raised. Now, in our case, what we might need to do first and foremost is to ensure our universities are universities, are centers of excellence, centers of research and teaching. Today, our universities are not centers of excellence. They are not centers of teaching and research. They are just extensions of high schools. So you must deal with that. And then you have to release universities from the grip of the government. Government must have minimal say in what goes on in the universities. Outside, once they have policy under legislative framework, they must leave universities. All these things of queues, those are rubbish. Remove them. Let universities be run independently as autonomous institutions, but must be run by the best. And the universities must not behave like high schools. They must be centers of excellence, centers of research, centers of innovation, centers of teaching.
All right.
Yes.
Very well, sir, and thank you for the insights on that. We are talking matters research and development and why Kenya as a country needs to invest heavily into that front so that in the near future we see how it can impact the level of Kenya's growth within the subsequent years that are ahead of us. For Fun of the Week, we go all the way to Australia. We get a gentleman by the name Ndasim Kogo.
Ndasim Kogo, thank you very much for being part of us. We appreciate you very much.
All right, make sure you get posted on our African proverb of the day that comes to you right after this on your screen, and also get tuned to our subsequent editions that come to you every Monday and Thursday here at Herman Manyora's channel. Also, keep this conversation going beyond here. I'm at Mwenja Richard on Twitter, at H Manyora on Twitter as well. Until next time, God bless.